Welcome to Massive Beers. My name is Matt. We do the beer stuff here. Belgian beer. Belgian quad. I'm in the mood for a Belgian quad. Hence one of the reasons why I picked this up, but not your typical Belgian quad. A brewery I've done a couple of reviews from, but I don't see a lot in the United States, but I'm excited because I think I can get more of them now. This is from Het Nest. Brewery Het Nest. This is their Kleveretien 10 of clubs. Yeah, this is a Belgian quadruple ale with anise. I love anise, my Belgian quads. They don't say there's anise in the Kaiserblau from Guten Carlos, but you very much get anise vibes, so I dig on that. Oddly enough, I really hate licorice in real life, so but it works for me. I like anise type spirits, Aalborg, things like that, so I'm super excited to give this a whirl because I think all my Het Nest beers have come from beer mails from overseas. And it's just one of those breweries. I was like, okay, I'll get to try this stuff when someone sends it to me. But as we can read on here, it says product of Belgium, and it says imported by Pointer Imports, Stockertown, Pennsylvania. Stockertown, Pennsylvania is exactly 5 minutes away from where I work. There is a beer store there that is called Stockertown Beverage. Okay, they've long imported beers. They've been the importer of, or not importer, but they were like the PA outpost for a lot of imported beers, like Dieu de Ciel, Cantillon, Tre Fontaine, Fantôme, stuff like that. A lot of old school beers. With the dissolving of Shelton Brothers to a certain extent, I've noticed that this importer has kind of popped up on a couple labels as of late. So I think they've kind of started importing directly maybe some of the portfolio they used to get or wanted to get from Shelton Brothers. Just an assumption on my part. What else do we have in this bottle? We have the Kleveretien. 10 of clubs is almost completely back ale with hints of anise and loads of character. Some may call this quadruple an Abbey-style ale, but we just call it a great beer. There's no date on here that I can discern, I don't believe. 10% alcohol by volume. Done. Let's see where the sucker lands. So, yeah. I don't remember last time I had like a Belgian, I mean, it's not a straight Belgian quad, there's anise in it, but we'll see where it goes. It's alright. I'm not going to sit here and say I love it. There's a little just club in the bottle, but I think that there's something with playing cards I remember with Het Nest, so could be their thing. So it's alright. I gotta hate on it, but caught my eye, so that works. And as far as this beer goes, okay, we're all right. It's not super turbid or cloudy. I want a little bit of cloudiness to my quads, but it definitely is dark. As you can see, they talk about a dark ale quad ale. It's definitely coming off a little bit darker than what you expect from a quad. Index finger, super creamy, fluffy, delectable dessert-like kind of head on that sucker. Malt ball in color, maybe closer to, a little south of that by a hair maybe. And just this rich mahogany, dark finish mahogany kind of darkness to it. Probably I'm trying to see if I can get it to look like it does for me. Glean a little bit more light than you're probably catching on camera, but definitely looks a part of a Belgian quad / dark ale. Let's see if we get a nose. I'm definitely getting the anise off this, but there's something else to it. Maybe it's a rich Belgian fruitiness to it on top of that anise. It's got a very expressive nose. Not typically what you get from Belgian quad. It actually, again, I know you can't smell sweetness, but the precursor is the sweetness you can. I don't really get a big kind of pop of like this soft sweetness to it. It comes off a little bit more. Oddly enough, it comes off a little bit more like licorice candy, Americanized licorice candy, because that tends to be like sweet but not overly sweet. And it has those soft, almost like powdery cardamom kind of anisey vibes with this little touch of sweetness and then this little, I want to dare say, some weird form of smokiness to it. I know it's not a smoke beer. I don't think it's going to attribute a bunch of smokiness, but that's the best way I can kind of frame it. Interesting nose. Fruity, almost like blackberry, boysenberry, undersweetened fruitiness, red, rich, dark fruitiness with that anise and that little bit. Maybe even like blackstrap molasses. Interesting nose. not typical quad level nose. It's very much kind of Belgian dark with some stuff in it nose. Let's dive in. Cheers. My first impression is I'm scared of this beer. Not because it's like dangerously drinkable, but I feel this kind of spiciness in it. The spiciness that can set me off. My allergies off, so I'm kind of wary to drink a lot of this right now. I want to take a couple sips and then maybe let it sit in my fridge for an hour or two and see if I have an allergic reaction. If that's the case, then we know it's probably anise. So, yeah, undersweetened for a quad. Not terribly. There's a sweetness here, but I think it's very much kind of counteracted by that anise. So you get this anise kind of playing this part of almost like a bittering agent that you would typically get from hops. It comes off very much kind of the way it lays on your tongue and how it acts is very white pepper cardamom-y for me, and that kind of dries out the palate and just kind of brings this kind of soft, not even licorice like vibes. It's very almost more like caraway seed vibe to it. So very much kind of like a seedy, kind of nutty seediness to it, as opposed to straight on kind of licorice that you typically get from like an anise-based beer. There's rich malts here at play. You're definitely getting a little bit of roasty toasty from them. You're definitely combining that little roasty toasty with that anise to add a little bit more bittering. It's very bittering level, kind of Belgian darks, Belgian darker, Belgian quad kind of beer. Undersweetened for its style. Let's put it this way. If I wasn't afraid or nervous of this being something that would give me an allergic reaction, I think I might enjoy it quite a bit. My body is saying, whoa, I don't know if you should drink this. So I'm being a little bit kind of reserved on my kind of thoughts. But if we sit back and kind of strip it to its core and talk about this as a Belgian quad, it is not much of a Belgian quad. If you call this a Belgian strong dark, I think I'm talking about this beer in a completely different sense. I mean, they allude to it. What did they say on here? Some may call this a quadruple Abbey style ale. No, it's like completely back ale hints, carrying loads of character. It's very much a Belgian strong dark. I know people are like, man, why are you splitting hairs here? Is that big of a deal? To me, Belgian quads are a very specific style of beer. Even when you do barrel aging, even when you mess with it, there still has to be this Belgian quad core to it. It's very much a Belgian dark with that anise added. And almost, I would even go like Belgian porter, imperial porter on this before I go Belgian quad, to be honest with you. All that being said, interesting beer. I find this hyper interesting, and I like the experience. I'm not going to sit here and say I love it as far as the beer goes. I'm not going to sit here and say I'm not being influenced slightly from my hesitation of maybe being slightly allergic to this beer that I won't find out for another half an hour or so. But in the grand scheme of things, it's interesting. It's cool. It's a fun take on the style. If we're going to get into nitpicking about where exactly it fits in those styles, albeit let's just shove it into the Belgian dark category, which I think, all Belgian quads are Belgian darks, but not all darks are Belgian quads. That's kind of how I think of Belgian dark. So it's already in the Belgian dark category. It just leans more heavily into something outside of what you typically get from a quad. I like the play on the anise. I like those rich red fruits that I talked about in the nose, which actually follow through in the taste. Nothing heavy-handed there. Starting to burp. I just need a skosh more sweetness to bounce off the roasty toasty and the bittering and that dryness from that anise to kind of make this kind of, I don't want it sweet, I just want it balanced better. And it just leans a little too dry and bittering for me to be a 10% Belgian dark to do what it's doing. I know they're not an inherently sweet style beer, but I just want to, we're talking a hair. Just bring it from 6 to 7. It would be a much better beer for me. But in the grand scheme of things, fun pickup. Glad I picked it up. A very cool interpretation of the style, and a very fun beer nonetheless. Is it one of, let's talk about it. It's one of the better Belgian quads I've had as late. In the conversation, Belgian dark's a little bit higher. Still not Mount Rushmore status, but fun nonetheless. Value and availability. Don't remember what I paid for it. I want to say it was probably like $5 or $6. Maybe $7. And leave you with, if you like what we like this. If you like Belgian darks, you dig on anise, and you want your beers to finish on a fully attenuated, dry, not overly sweet, you'll dig on this. So there you go. Hetnest. Have you been to the brewery? Have you had the beers? Have you had this beer? I'm very curious about your thoughts about this beer. If you've had it, let me know down below. Or anything else. Talk about it. Hopefully you enjoyed the review. Hopefully enjoying a little bit of Belgian goodness right now. Hope to see you next time. Cheers, y'all.